Okay, let's unpack this phenomenon. BTS. For those of you maybe just tuning in, picture a South Korean group that didn't just sort of enter the global music scene, they really detonated it.
Yeah.
We're talking chart-topping hits, stadiums filled, like completely packed across continents, and this fan base, the ARMYN,
Yeah.
they operate with the dedication you usually see in, well, actual armies. It's wild.
It really is something else. From soul to, global domination.
Yeah.
Her story is just, yeah.
And what's interesting, I think, is that their rise wasn't just overnight. It felt like that sometimes, maybe, but it was built on years of really compelling music, right?
Absolutely. And that authentic connection they have with their fans, plus messages that just seem to resonate everywhere.
Yeah, and their Korean identity is still so central, yet they've managed to forge this connection that just goes beyond borders. It's fascinating.
It really is. Which brings us to a pretty significant moment in their U.S. journey.
Right, their debut on the Ellen DeGeneres Show.
Ex
This wasn't just, another celebrity interview. It felt like a real marker. Like, okay, they've arrived on the American mainstream stage.
Yeah, a turning point, almost. And the anticipation online, wow. It was electric. If you scroll through fan forums on Reddit from back then, you could almost feel the buzz.
You really could.
And it's interesting because, before the internet really changed everything, breaking into the U.S. market was so much more controlled. But BTS, they arrived with this, massive wave of online support already there. Traditional media pretty much had to pay attention.
Yeah, they couldn't ignore it. So for this deep dive, we're going to really get into that Ellen appearance.
Sounds good.
We'll look at some key cultural moments, some really surprising stuff about language learning, and ultimately why this TV spot gives us such a rich look at natural English conversation.
Yeah, that's a great angle. Because how did a group singing mostly in Korean connect so strongly with English-speaking audiences?
Yeah.
Ellen gives us some clues there.
Definitely. Okay, so let's talk about the arrival. The buzz around BTS actually, landing in the U.S. for the first time properly. It was something else.
Oh, yeah.
Looking back at Reddit threads, comments on the YouTube clips, people were making comparisons to the Beatles arriving decades earlier. That level of frenzy.
It's a fair comparison, honestly. The sheer intensity, that excitement around them just being there.
Yeah.
It does echo those big moments in music history. But maybe amplified by the digital age, you know.
Totally amplified. And at the Ellen Show taping itself, the ARMY presence was just huge. You read the Reddit mega threads from, I think it was the 2018 taping, and they're full of stories about waiting for hours, the different colored wristbands. Some fans even got to be in a Friends skit, which is amazing. We'll get to that.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. But interestingly, some of those early fan accounts also mention some concerns about sasaeng behavior.
Oh, right. That more obsessive side of fandom.
Yeah, exactly. That really intense, sometimes invasive stuff. It's kind of a reminder that with that level of massive popularity, you get a whole spectrum of fan behavior.
That's a really important contrast to make. The vast majority of fans are incredibly positive and supportive, but that mention does highlight the complexities of fame and the need for, well, boundaries.
Right. Okay, so let's dive into the interview highlights. One thing that always comes up, and it's genuinely fascinating, is how RM, the leader, learned English.
Oh, yeah, the friend story.
Exactly. As he mentioned on Ellen, both times, I think, he basically taught himself by watching the sitcom Friends.
It's amazing, isn't it? Such an unexpected but clearly effective method.
Totally.
It really shows the power of immersion, especially in something you actually enjoy. He wasn't just memorizing grammar rules. He was absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, the everyday words.
All through a show he was clearly into. It just goes to show engaging content can be such a powerful language learning tool.
Yeah.
And speaking of Friends, this is that cool detail from the Reddit threads about the 2018 taping.
The skit.
Yeah. The production team actually set up a Friends skit for some ARMY members. The ones with purple wristbands, apparently. Imagine getting to act out scenes on that set, knowing BTS is in the building.
That's brilliant. What a great connection to RM's story and such a unique experience for those fans.
Right. It shows they really understood their audience there.
Yeah, really thoughtful fan engagement.
Now, Ellen, she's known for being pretty direct, right?
Yeah. She doesn't shy away.
So she brought up the relationship topic, the girlfriend question. Happened in both 2017 and 2018. And the fan reactions online were, well, a mix. Amusement, maybe a bit of this question again.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Looking at the transcripts, you see Jungkook kind of looking out towards the ARMY like, help!
Ah.
And RM just handles it like a pro. really witty deflections. Apparently, the phrase hooked up, which Ellen used,
Oh, I remember that.
it became a bit of a running joke in Korea after she asked them that the first time.
That really shows the cultural differences in interviews, doesn't it? Those kinds of questions are pretty standard in U.S. celebrity chats, but maybe land differently elsewhere.
For sure.
And RM's ability to just navigate that with humor says a lot about his communication skills, his understanding of, American media.
Definitely. And then the prank.
Oh, classic Ellen.
Yeah. Entertainment. Tonight covered it. Reddit hinted at it. She had someone jump out from inside a coffee table or something.
And J-Hope nearly went flying.
Exactly. Poor J-Hope apparently almost fell right off the couch.
Those moments, they're played for laughs, but they also give you a real, unguarded glimpse of their personalities, how they react on the spot.
Totally. And the fact it became such a talked-about moment shows how much it landed.
Yeah, memorable, for sure.
We also saw little bits on Reddit about V being really excited, trying to speak English on the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's those little authentic moments, that excitement. It makes them really relatable.
Absolutely. That authenticity is so key.
Yeah.
It's not just a perfect performance. You see real reactions. That's how the audience connects.
Okay, let's switch gears to the performances. They performed Fake Love, of course.
A huge hit.
And the fan discussions on Reddit are just packed with details. People
Yeah.
noticed Jungkook lifting his shirt, really briefly during the first chorus. That definitely got people talking.
Oh, I bet. Fans notice everything.
They really do. And they also felt Jin had more prominent vocal lines in Fake Love compared to other times, which they were excited about.
That makes sense. From a fan perspective, those details matter a lot. Line distribution, small choreography changes. That's the stuff the ARMY tracks closely. It shows individual growth.
Exactly. The Reddit threads also mention a second performance. There seemed to be a bit of confusion, maybe, whether it was Airplane Pie 2 or Magic Shop.
Right, I remember seeing that uncertainty. But they definitely noted props being used, like chairs and mic stands.
Yeah, and they described this specific tableau pose at the end of Fake Love. And Jin apparently did a pinch pose that called back to an earlier teaser image.
See, the level of detail.
It's incredible. And they even commented on the styling, like Yoongi wearing a choker, Jimin's hair.
It just speaks to the depth of the fan base, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Every single aspect is seen, analyzed, appreciated. It shows how holistically BTS approaches their art and connects with the audience.
It really does. Okay, now let's transition, because this is super valuable, I think. The English language learning opportunities just sitting there in this interview.
Ah, yes. This is where we get practical insights, moving beyond just entertainment value.
Because honestly, this appearance is like a little goldmine for anyone learning conversational English.
Totally agree. We're not talking textbook English here. This is how people actually talk in a natural, informal setting. Ellen's show is a great example of that.
Exactly. You hear Ellen and the members using so many everyday phrases, simple stuff like nice to meet you, obviously, but also things like pretty well or back in the days.
And RM saying he was kind of like a victim when his mom made him watch Friends.
Yeah, that kind of softens it, makes it humorous. And the lucky one, or just the constant use of like as a filler word.
It's everywhere in spoken English.
Then you've got gratitude, like thanks to, or phrases for connection like appeal to, bring us together. And agreement, like Ellen saying, you certainly do.
Yeah, and thinking about it from a language learning angle, these are the bits textbooks often miss, right? Intonation, the context. That's crucial for actually understanding and using the language naturally.
Think about when Ellen says, can you believe what has happened? Y'all, that is pure conversational filler. And y'all, common informal American English, especially Southern, but it pops up elsewhere.
It does. And even RM saying he felt kind of like a victim, it's much more nuanced than just I was a victim. It adds that layer of lightheartedness.
Right. And when Ellen asks if they've hooked up with fans, that's very informal slang, knowing that nuance is key.
And what's really cool is how RM, who learned mainly from a sitcom, gets these informalities.
Yeah.
He picked up the stuff that makes English sound natural, not stiff.
So, for a quick practice idea, if you're listening and learning, think about meeting someone. Instead of something super formal like, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Which nobody really says.
Right. How much more natural is, hi, nice to meet you?
Yeah.
Or expressing surprise instead of, I find that difficult to believe, maybe, wow, can you believe that? Or even just, no way.
Exactly. It's about using those smaller, everyday, conversational building blocks.
And going back to RM again, that constant exposure to friends with all its jokes, sarcasm, normal situations, It gave him this amazing foundation in practical English, not just vocab lists, but how the language works in real conversations.
Yeah, he learned the function, not just the form.
Which brings us to why this Ellen appearance and others like it are just so valuable for English study.
Yeah.
They give you a real window into natural speech patterns. You hear the pacing, the informal words, the expressions used in a real interview.
And the cultural nuances, too. How people react to questions, the role of humor, even just hearing different accents and ways of speaking.
It's such a contrast to, say, just drilling grammar rules or memorizing formal vocabulary lists.
Which have their place, of course.
Yeah.
But you need this real-world exposure, too. It gives you a much more complete picture of the language as it's actually used day to day. You learn how to communicate in context.
Okay, so to sort of wrap up our deep dive here, BTS's US TV debut on Ellen was clearly a really significant moment, culturally, for the fans, for the group.
Absolutely. Marked by that incredible fan energy and just how engaging the members themselves were.
We looked at some memorable bits, the friends connection, both RM learning and the fan skit, the recurring girlfriend question.
Prank. Can't forget the prank.
The prank, definitely. And maybe most importantly for our discussion today, we explored how that whole interview is just a fantastic resource for understanding natural English communication.
And it's really worth stressing again how RM learning from friends just highlights the power of using media you enjoy for language learning. It makes it less of a chore, right?
Totally. So we really encourage you, the listener, to think about that.
Yeah.
How can you use TV shows, movies, music, whatever you're into, as tools for your own language journey?
It can make a huge difference.
And that leaves us with a final thought, something for you to maybe chew on. How can looking at these seemingly lighthearted pop culture moments actually give us a much deeper understanding, not just of language, but of culture and how communication works globally?
Yeah, it's more than just entertainment. Maybe check out some other interviews with non-native English speakers. See what you notice.
You might be surprised what you find.